for Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome my dear guests and my dear audience for the webinar, Deliveries in Drones. I am very happy that you all decided to spend Friday's morning with us, with Targi Kielce and with our Aviation Expo webinars. Today we will talk about deliveries in drones, and I would like to present my speakers. First of all, I would like to welcome Alexandra Florin, who is working in a Wing company, but was also an EASA expert on Sora, and she's well known when it comes to drone regulations across Europe and also globally. I would like to welcome Yves Morier, also former EASA expert. He's well known in the drone sector when it comes to regulation and also market regulation. I would like to welcome Stefan Morelli, who is working currently at Sogitec and is responsible for a product called Drone Simulator Device. I would like to welcome Łukasz Haciński, who is responsible for sales in Dronehub Group, and he's Dronehub Group manager. And I would like to welcome Pipistrel, Tine Tomacic, who is also here with us and will speak about drones in his company. It's great to have you all with me today. I know that you are very experienced when it comes to drone deliveries, and from my point of view, you are great experts on this subject. I think that nowadays, during pandemics, drone delivery sector became very important. As we all know, drones have many applications, and I will show during my presentation some applications of drones. But this delivery market seems to be very important nowadays during pandemics. I think that drone delivery forecast is quite optimistic. We also see the growth in cargo sector when it comes to manned aviation. Airlines right now, they focus a lot to improve cargo sector because the passenger traffic decreased. And we all see that Boeing 737 transform into cargo aircrafts, which is quite surprising, but it shows that pandemic economy is moving us forward with the cargo business in airlines and also in the drone sector. So I would like to move forward with our discussion, and I would like to show you some slides. It will be a brief show of slides. I will just share my screen. Is it okay? Do you see my presentation?
Now we see it, Joanna.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra. So the first slide shows Male type of drones. Usually when we think about deliveries in drones, we think of smaller UAVs. However, we need to be aware that there are also big ones like Watchkeeper. Watchkeeper is, of course, not devoted to drone deliveries. However, it's a good example of a big unmanned aircraft system. We also see a patroller, French construction from Safran. We also see a drone unmanned aircraft system from Boeing, Aurora. I made this picture myself a long time ago at a high-level conference on drones in Amsterdam. So we are aware that we will have to create good legislation, not only for the little drones, but also for the bigger ones. As you all know, drones have many functionalities. We are here. We are here at this webinar, and we are all from the aviation sector and from the drone sector. But our audience, our viewers, sometimes are from the different sectors. So I would like to just mention that the drone applications are very large. Sometimes people will be surprised, how can we use a drone? For instance, we can save someone who is droning at the seaside. We can also use drones in agriculture. We can also use drones in the insurance sector for roof and site inspections. In Poland, there is a company called Flytronic, and they are using drones in order to reduce smog during winter time. We also can use drones for crime prevention. Łukasz Haciński, who is representing Dronehub company, will talk about one project conducted with European Space Agency, which is focused on crime prevention. We can also use drones for entertainment and leisure. But from my point of view, right now, the drone delivery sector is one of the most important sectors that we need to develop. I prepared some slides which show a forecast of the growth of the drone delivery market. And as you can see at this slide, provided by Mordor Intelligence, some studies show that by 2026, we will have in Asia Pacific the largest and the fastest growing market when it comes to drone deliveries, and also in North America. And the key players that were shown here in this study were DHL, Amazon, and also DJI, also UPS and Zeppelin. And moving forward, another forecast made by Research and Market shows that by February 2021, we will have 4,953 million worth market in drone deliveries. And again, main market, it will be in Asia Pacific. Also, I would like to say that based on end use of the drone sector and based on market and markets research, in April 2021, we see that medical aid delivery is the leading drone application. Next slide shows that we are actually dealing with the growth in drone delivery application during the COVID. And this slide also shows that the statistics are going higher and higher, and we should anticipate that in 2027 we will have a huge growth in the delivery in drones market. Again, I would like to say that many companies are using drones nowadays. For instance, Électricité de France, a French electricity company, Veolia, which is also a French state-owned company. Aldesa, a Spanish company, is using drones in the construction sector to monitor and to inspect construction site. Engie, a French company present in the energy sector, is also using drones. Tauron Energia, Polish energy company, is also using drones. So as you can see, there are many applications. However, I think that drone deliveries will be the most difficult ones due to the many reasons. We have many answers. We have many questions that need to be addressed. Sora, Alexandra will talk about Sora. We have also problems with BVLOS flights, which means beyond visual line of sight flights of drones. This issue and this question will be addressed by Yves Morier, who will give us all the knowledge about BVLOS flights. And also we need to certify the service, and we need to certify the drones. We will also talk a bit about certification. And last but not least, we will talk about operators training, which can also be a barrier to develop drone delivery sector. Here I just indicated BVLOS regulation. In Poland, we had BVLOS regulation in 2017, but we also have it in Europe, and the maximum altitude for the drone flight was 120 meters above ground level. This is the level that sets boundaries for drone delivery services. And this level is very important. We need to keep in mind that drones also have to integrate with many airspace users. And in Poland, we have a system called Pansa UTM, which digitalizes and helps to integrate drones with many different airspace users during the flight. This system is called Pansa UTM, and is very helpful in our country. And this system was developed on the basis of drone radar application created by Mr. Paweł Korzec. Mr. Paweł Korzec invented it, I think, in 2016, I believe, and it helped to integrate drones with general aviation aircrafts. So this system is existing on our market since 2016. But right now it is operational, and our Polish Airspace Navigation Agency is using it. And we are very happy that it helps our drone operators and the companies that are using drones in their business. So right now, I would just like to say the last word about public acceptance, because in order to move forward with deliveries in drones, we need to remember that people will have to accept the fact that something is flying next to them. Many people are not really willing to see drones on the sky or to hear them, because the drone noise can be annoying. However, I think that there are also drone enthusiasts who are willing to see this market developed. And when it comes to drone incidents with general aviation aircrafts, you can see here an example of a small incident with a Wilga aircraft. It's a Polish general aviation aircraft. And from my point of view, in order to move the market forward, we need to create a system to fly safely with our drones. And of course, I am not worried about the companies that use drones in their business activity, because I know that they know how to fly. They are really following the rules and the legislation, but I'm worried about people who are flying for fun, who are using drones to fly during the weekends, to film, for instance, aircrafts who are taking off and landing at the airports. This can be very detrimental to the safety of a flight, of an airline. So we need to be aware of the fact that in order to move the market forward, drone flights need to be safe. And it has to be a cooperation with many stakeholders, with civil aviation authorities, local ones, and also EASA, also FAA in United States. And there is a huge work to be done, but we already did a lot. And I think my guests will prove that we are already quite developed and quite well organized. So now I would like to finish my presentation. And I would like to invite everyone for the presentation of Yves Morier. Yves, do you hear us? If you need to unmute, it's in the left corner.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and good morning, everybody. And now I will try to work with the presentation. Do you see the slides?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So, no. Think.
Co teraz on powinien zrobić?
I just have a slight problem, obviously.
Możemy pomóc? Jeszcze raz musi pan załączyć prezentację.
Okay, does it work now?
Yes, it works.
Thank you. Sorry for that. So good morning again, everybody. My plan would be to give a brief overview of EU drone regulation in a couple of slides. So it's I will try to be as quick as possible. What was interesting is that where some of the principles we decided to take right from the beginning when drafting those regulations. The first principle was operation-centric. So we say what is important is that the operations are safe, and we need to look at the operations as a whole. It has also to be risk-based. It's quite obvious that the level of risks are very different depending of the drone that we are talking about, but also of the environment in which the drone is being used, be it on the ground or be it on the air. An important factor was also to take into account that drone technology is evolving very quickly, and therefore we had to be performance-based, try not to be prescriptive. However, we had to ensure, I would say, legal certainty. So the rules reflect, in fact, this balance. As a general principle, in order to be acceptable by the public, I think there is 4 factors to be taken into account. Safety, of course. Security, which means the use of drone for bad purposes. Environmentally friendly, in order to to respect the environment, in particular in this in liaison with climate change, and to respect privacy, because drones have the possibility to overfly barriers, to overfly walls, and therefore people don't want to be looked at by the drones. So these are 4 factors that we had to introduce into the rule. What are the main regulations? Well, the first one is the EASA basic regulation, which is a regulation which put in place the European Safety Agency and Ease and Aviation Act. The second one is the technical requirement for drone and third countries operator, 2019-945. 2019-947 deals with drone operations, so the two actually, 947, 945, need to be looked at the same time. And finally, the most recent one, last but certainly not least, is the one about USpace, which is the European word for Unmanned Air Traffic Management, UTM. Credit for any picture I've used goes to EASA. So starting by the basic regulation, in terms of drone this time, so I will not explain the basic regulation in general. It includes a number of definitions, notably the UAS, Unmanned Aircraft System, which is the regulatory work for drones, and it covers both remotely piloted aircraft systems and autonomous aircraft systems. What will you find into the drone regulation? You will find a principle, so you will find, for example, the operation-centric, risk-based. You will find also elements about safety, security, environmental protection. And it includes essential requirements that are applicable to drone operation with two parts, one for the non-commercial, one for the commercial. It includes an important element for, I would say, security and safety, which is operator registration. This means that the member states are responsible to establish registers, and those registers must be interoperable via a broker system that was put in place by EASA, and Alexandra was particularly instrumental in putting this broker system in place. It also contains, of course, what kind of operators must be registered. In the drone area, all of the certificates and approval are issued by member states, except those related to the design of certified drone, which are issued by EASA. What do we find in regulation 947 now? So the one for drone operation. It identified 3 categories of operation, which I will describe in a few minutes. This is also very much compatible with the work that was done by an international cooperation of authorities called JARUS, Joint Authorities on the Regulation for Unmanned Systems, which has created also 3 categories, but they call it A, B, and C. In EASA, we call them open, specific, and certified. The regulation covers model aircraft, but they are given a specific approach. It introduced geographical zones by which you can, I would say, forbid the use of drone or limit the use of drone, but also facilitate the use of drone, for example, for testing purposes. It contained requirements for the age of the pilot. That was something that was quite heavily discussed during the work. And it contained an optional approval for operators called Light Unmanned Aircraft Operator Certificate, LUC in short, which I will describe also a little bit later on. The oversight of US activities are done by member states do implement US regulation. Finally, it contains transition provision from national regulation to EU regulation that was necessary in order to help industry and EASA and authorities to prepare. Now, what are the categories? First one is the open category, which is low risk when you apply the requirements and the limitation in the open category. It has no pre-approval. Some of the limitations are drone must be less than 25 kilos, operation must be visual line of sight, and maximum height must be 120 meters. And also one limitation that can be applied is the system of zone. It has been in turn subdivided into three categories: fly over isolated people, fly close to people, and fly far from people, and also aerodrome. So this covers general public recreational purposes, model flying, photography, so the inspection of structures, for example. When we want to be more ambitious, we enter the specific category where the risk, where the operation by themselves would have an increased risk. There, you need to have an authorization given by the national authority based on a specific operation risk assessment, the Sora, that will be described by Alexandra in a few minutes. We have introduced some facilitation, like a declaration in the case of standard scenario, come back to that, and also by the use of the light unmanned aircraft operator certificate. That could be for beyond visual operation, line inspection, aerial work, transportation of goods, most likely over not heavily populated area. Finally, certified category, so even more ambitious operation, bigger drones. There, the risk is like in manned aviation, and like in manned aviation, the machine must be certified by EASA. The operator must have an operator certificate, and the pilots, when they exist, must be licensed. Of course, it would not apply in the case of full autonomous flight. The approval of the operator and the license would be given by the national authorities. This will apply to air taxi operation, unmanned urban air mobility, also for international flight, like the one being regulated by ICAO, and package delivery over people. So drone deliveries could be specific in some cases, but also can be certified. Continuing on the specific category, so the principle of authorization after risk assessment, we have a simplification which is called the predetermined risk assessment, which I have summed up in the backup slide. The idea is that for some particular kind of operation, a risk assessment has been established a priori, and if it is being used, and if the mitigation are being used, this should facilitate the obtention of the authorization. If you apply a standard scenario, which is covering low risk operation, the specific category, I have also put the two approved at the time being as backup slides, then a simple declaration would suffice. So here we come to a real simplification, but you have to apply strictly the mitigation measures included into the standard scenario. Finally, the light unmanned aircraft operator certificate contains some privileges, and depending from the privileges you have, you may be allowed to start operation without obtaining an authorization. One point I just wanted to highlight is a design verification process for drone in a specific category. In the case of a lower risk, simple declaration is enough. In the case where the risk becomes medium, a design verification by EASA will be performed, and EASA issue a report that includes any limitation or assumptions under which the report remain valid. So it's not a certificate, it's not a type certificate, it's a design verification. Finally, for the higher risk in a specific category, a type certificate may be necessary for the drone. The SAIL is specific assurance and integrity level. You could say that the outcome of the Sora, it qualifies the risk after having taken into account the ground risk and the air risk. Perhaps a quick point about recognition of approvals. They are recognized as all approvals granted under the EASA basic regulation. However, there may be a need to check some points about geographical the geography of the operation and the weather. So when you change from a city to another one, and I think here the drawing explains it quite well, you need to change perhaps some of the elements that take into account the geography of the weather. When it comes to a declaration, you declare to the operator, to the authority which has jurisdiction for you, you get a confirmation of reception of your declaration, and then you can provide this declaration to another country, and it would be acceptable. Regulation 947 also contains the boundary between specific and certified. There are, in fact, two ways to express that. Either the risk assessment shows that the operation is in the certified category, so it's better mitigated by putting it in the certified category. But we have also identified 3 particular cases which have been identified as a priori using a combination of article from Regulation 945 and article from Regulation 947. I've listed them there. And you could see, for example, the transport of people is always in the certified category. The Regulation 945 defines the procedures and technical requirements for drones to obtain a CE marking. CE marking is something used for products in general, for example, the computers that you are, or telephones that you are using. It's not, of course, an airworthiness approval, but there is quite a lot of similarities, notably that the verification of the technical requirements are done by a notified body, that there are, of course, technical requirements, and it used in a significant manner standards. 7 classes have been defined. 5 of them are for the open category, and 2 of them relate to standard scenarios. There are some noteworthy requirements. Direct remote identification. I've identified the classes that need to comply with direct remote identification. Geo-awareness, so to tell you where you are and avoid that, for example, you enter a forbidden zone. Noise, which has been introduced for some classes, that's a way to respect environment. Powered by electricity, all of them except the class C6, that's another example of respecting the environment, and a unique serial number, except those that are toys, class C0, to simplify, or very small, and C4, which has industrially produced model aircraft. Last but not least, in that Regulation 945, you find the condition for third countries operators, so people which are from another country than EASA member state, EU plus the 4, Liechtenstein, Iceland, Norway, and Switzerland. They have simply to comply with EU regulation, except that the Commission can accept, advised by EASA, that certain certificates from the third countries can be recognized. And the last, I would say, in the time approved is Regulation 664 about U-Space, or UTM, Unmanned Aircraft Traffic Management. It will apply in January 2023 in the geographical areas where the member state has defined as U-Space aircraft. In that case, it will apply to US operator, U-Space service providers, and providers of common information services. It introduced the notion of common information services, which are services that consist in disseminating static and dynamic data to enable the provision of U-Space services for the management of traffic of unmanned aircraft. It also identified U-Space services and the requirement applicable to them. I have listed them there. And providers of U-Space services and common information services must receive a certificate due to the importance of the service they provide. U-Space will be quite important for drone deliveries, in particular when we will have a lot of them, in order to ensure that the circulation of the machines are done in a proper manner. And I will conclude this brief overview by listing a couple of links where you can find more information on the rules themselves. And on this, I wish to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Yves. I am very grateful for your lecture because we all learned a lot from your presentation. There are many people with no aviation background who are watching us today. So it was a great overview and you highlighted the most important points when it comes to drone legislation. And I'm very thankful for that. I would just like to ask you one question before we move to Alexandra and to Sora lecture. What do you think is the largest barrier on the German market when it comes to the drone services? Mostly, of course, in deliveries.
Well, you could have in fact several limiting factors. People will of course tell you it's regulation. I hope that I've shown here that regulation can also be quite an enabler. Another one could be technical. Technical, for example, is how to ensure detect and avoid. It could also be battery endurance. That could be also a limitation, in particular for long range deliveries. Finally, an important one is the public acceptance. We have, for example, wings, or a study about wings operation has been produced, showing positive views from the public. ESA has also recently produced a study. It was, I believe, the day before yesterday, which show that there is a positive reaction, but it's something we should be extremely watchful and make sure that it remains so, and in particular by making sure that the drones are safe, secure, the drone operations are safe, secure, environmentally friendly, and respect privacy. So in a nutshell, here are a couple of limitations I could see for drone delivery, which I hope will develop, will be developing.
And do you see yourself ordering a lunch on Saturday via drone?
That's an interesting question. I would say yes, why not? I would do it, but when perhaps the COVID-19 lockdown will be finished, I may also like to go to the restaurant instead of ordering lunch. So I will see, but I will not certainly not exclude it. Which perhaps leads me to a quick point I would like to make. One element I should have mentioned for the limitation could be the competition of deliveries, of autonomous deliveries on the ground or deliveries by bicycle for the last mile delivery. That could be a competition to drone deliveries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now let's move to Alexandra and to Sora regulation. Alexandra, the floor is yours.
Yes, so let me share my screen. Yeah, okay, at least it's working. Very happy. So it's not going to be a lecture on Sora per se. It's not a training on Sora because it will take too much time. I think some people are doing it on several days. But as explained by Yves, the Sora, it's a safety methodology which is used, at least in Europe. I will explain this to support operational authorization in the specific category. And I think a lot of the industry, at least in Europe, is really using this framework. And while doing so, we realize that the methodology, which is really an enabler, is not perfect. And what I wanted to present to you is what Jairus, who initiated the Sora, is working on at the moment to improve the methodology. Because again, it was really an enabler, but some aspects need to be improved. So I'm just re-explaining very quickly what is Jairus. Yves mentioned it. Jairus stands for Joint Authority for Rulemaking on Unmanned. systems. It's a group of experts coming from national aviation authorities or regional aviation safety organizations like Eurocontrol and EASA. And it's a group which is not regulating, it's a group gathering internationally to recommend technical safety operational requirements to safely integrate UAS into aviation. There are a lot of organizations being represented, 65 organizations, 63 countries, EASA, Eurocontrol. We have a new leadership now. I've put the names. And I wanted to say as well for those interested, because we had problems recently with the JARUS website, but it has been reactivated. And maybe for those of you interested to comment when JARUS is issuing external consultation, I've put the link to where to find this external consultation in order for any one of you interested to be able to comment. So the Sora, as I said, is it's a specific operational risk assessment methodology. It was developed by JARUS Workgroup 6, and now it has been recognized by EASA as an acceptable means of compliance to one of the regulations that was presented by Yves, the 947, specifically the Article 11, which deals with risk assessment requested to support operational authorization in the specific category. It's not only used in Europe, it has been successfully used by other authorities. I will say that although the FAA is not officially stating they are using it, we know that in the background, a lot of principles are inspired or very aligned with those principles. CASA in Australia are using it, in New Zealand as well. So it's little by little more and more international. So officially recognized in Europe, but as well being used internationally. So I just have 2 more slides on this topic, just to explain to you what's coming. So the Sora has been developed by JARUS, but in JARUS there were a different working group. So for those being familiar, it's Workgroup 6 who used to develop the Sora. So for information, Workgroup 6 has been renamed recently. It's called JARUS SRM now. It stands for Safety Risk Management. I wanted to clarify this in order for, if you hear about SRM, in order that people know that it's actually the former Workgroup 6. And there's really a lot of activities happening in this group. And this subgroup of JARUS has been split in further 6 subgroups, and one of them is related to training. They are developing a slide deck in order to support training on the Sora. As I said, specific training on the Sora takes hours, not to say days. It's a long thing, so they're trying to help those people willing to train on the Sora to have some material useful. They are working as well on Annex A. Annex A is related to the presentation of the CONOPS. When we developed the Sora, initially we had proposed an Annex A, and we realized that it's not always easy to use. We need to make it closer to reality, so those people are working on this. And they are as well working on proposal to improve, sometimes to simplify as well, some aspects of the Sora. Again, the document exists, it's being used, it's not perfect, and we fully recognize this in JARUS, and we are working towards improving, simplifying, and make it easier for all to use. So this is one subgroup, training, improvements, and making the document accessible for all. There is as well a subgroup dealing with UTM, the link between USpace, UTM services, and the Sora. It's called Annex H. The work on this is almost finalized, and there is an external consultation planned this summer. So I don't know if it's going to come in June, July, but for those interested, please follow up the external consultation from JARUS in order for you to be able to comment if you would like. The third subgroup is related to what we call quantitative methods. For those familiar with the Sora, there are a lot of notions like urban area, populated areas, which are being used. It's qualitative terms, and we recognize that this is not always easy, neither for regulators nor for UAS operators to use. So a group has been founded a long time ago. Actually, they have worked really like crazy, and they came with a quantitative approach, which will be much more easy for all to use. This will be embedded within a new annex, Annex F. And again, the work on this is almost finished, or at least to allow an external consultation, and it's going to be published for external consultation pretty soon, probably by end of June. They are doing the same on air risk. It still needs some work, but it's coming. Last slide for this. Other aspects, so the fourth subgroup is to tackle cyber, how UAS operators should take care of security. So there is an Annex E for cyber, which has been just published for external consultation. If you're interested, you can raise your comments. You can have a look and raise comments by 4th of June. This is a due date. And then, because all those changes triggered by the training group, by the UTM group, by the quantitative group, and so on, we just established a task force with a purpose to update the main body and Annex B related to mitigation, Annex E related to also the operational safety objectives. And the idea is mostly to update or create materials linked to inputs coming from the other groups like Annex F, ground risk, Annex H, UTM, and so on. And as well to, because people start to use it, when you start using it, you identify some issues. So regulators have raised some concerns to be addressed. So this is being worked on, and we plan as well to have an external consultation, I believe, by September. And the last item, so the last subgroup in JARUS SRM is related to PDRA. Yves mentioned this. It's a kind of pre-application of the Sora in specific conditions. So this group is actively working. This is really a help for US operator who doesn't want to fully understand the Sora, but they have clear concepts in mind. And if it matches one of the PDRA, they can just focus on this and not having to read main body and all the annexes. So this is what's happening and what I wanted to share with you this morning on the Sora.
Thank you, Alexandra. It was an excellent speaker slot, and we all learned a lot on Sora. I would just like to ask you, what is the general feedback from the companies that you have on Sora? What opinion do they have on Sora? Do they like it or do they not like it? How they perceive this specific risk operation assessment?
I think there's a wide range of feedback because a specific category, because it starts with, as soon as you do BV loss operation, we have one single person operator. Photographers could operate in the specific category. I think, to be honest, and I fully recognize this, having to digest completely the Sora is much too much complicated for them. But I think that EASA is doing a fantastic job to develop standard scenarios, to go for PDRAs and so on. And on top of this, we as well recognize as a group that some aspects are not ideally presented or a little bit complicated because information is split over different annexes and so on. So we really want to improve this. I believe that the most experienced and organization having more resources feels more comfortable with the Sora. There are some shortfalls, obviously, which needs to be addressed. So yeah, the feedback is different from depending on the background you are having, and we need to fix this. And I think that both EASA, JARUS, and the industry wants to fix those problems in order that the main principle of the methodology can be used by all, whatever your level of experience. Maybe with different material, but it's the idea. We keep the principle, but depending what you want to do, you can look at simplified material, or you can really dig into the details and adapt to the specificities of your operation.
Thank you for this answer. I also wanted to ask you whether your profession in general aviation, because you were working a lot for EASA before drones in general aviation, did it help a lot in the drone sector?
In fact, there are two questions.
Completely different.
No, I think there are two questions in your question. I mean, I'm coming from the manned aviation world, and the question is whether I was prepared to work on drone industry world. I think that no one is really prepared for that. It's the honest answer. Now, personally, I fell into it and I loved it. I saw really a unique chance to do something extraordinary, but in the real sense of extraordinary, you know, outside of ordinary, not the regular business, and to develop something from scratch. And I really wanted to be a part of it. So I think you never can be prepared, just be curious, open-minded, never, you know, I'm always giving this example. I was discussing with a young lady that I know, and she was a trainee at EASA, and she started to work for the industry, and she was telling me, I'm afraid not to be ready, you know, to work in the industry. I said, come on, I've been working since 20 years, 10 years in the industry, 10 years in EASA. Since I started that week, I'm learning every single day. You know, I thought I knew a lot. Obviously, I know a lot. But I'm learning so much on spectrum, on security, on plenty of aspects that I didn't work before. So, yeah, I think if you are curious, open-minded, and really willing to make a difference, you are fitted, whatever your background.
Yeah, I think aviation sector is like this. You are learning every day, and even though you ask retired people from airlines, airports, or even authorities, they always say that there's always something new to learn, and also technology moves on. We build new aircrafts, new technologies, and every day brings new knowledge. So we all have to be open, and as you said, general aviation can be helpful, but it's not enough. So we all need to learn. Thank you so much, Alexandra. And now I will ask Stefan Morelli from Sogitec to join us. Stefan, we will help you with the presentation. So just give us a few seconds, and we will try to share it on the screen.
So let me just introduce myself, and thank you for organizing this webinar, and to have such a nice team of experts to deal about drones and delivery with drones. I'm going to talk to you about a subject which is not really connected to a drone deliveries, but it's connected to the evolution of the drone market. So previously I was in a company that was a manufacturer of drones. Manufacturing drones is a business, is something now who has reached a very interesting point of interest. But when you see the growth of the drone market, then you have to deal with some additional points which are connected to training. And today I'm going to talk to you about the requirements that are going to happen in terms of simulation, which is not obvious, which is not something which is now is very new, but it's going to happen because the nature and the volume of the operation, of the drone operation, is changing, and we are going in that direction of having simulators for drones. So maybe we can go to the next slide. Just introduce the company I'm working in. So it's a subsidiary, Sogitec, it's a subsidiary of Dassault Aviation, maybe you can hear some news about Dassault in the current period, because we are happy to have orders from different countries in the world related to the Rafale airplane. But Sogitec is dedicated to simulation, and of course we have a fixed wing simulators for the Rafale, for the Mirage, which are combat aircraft, but also for the Falcon, which are transport aircraft. And we are also working for Airbus helicopters. So we are manufacturing some simulators, especially for the Puma or the NH90 helicopters, which means that Sogitec has a very large background simulating aircraft in the world. But we have now the interest of simulating for drone operation. And this is now the reason of my arrival in Sogitec. I'm going to explain you why and how. So maybe we can go to the next slide. We have the forecast that US training requirement is going to increase. Of course, you have the debate of having more and more automated UAS arriving on the market. This is a good thing. But when you talk about BVLOS flights, of course, you have an additional operational complexity. And we believe that the future of the professional market, I'm not talking about the leisure market, I'm talking about the professional market. So the future of this professional market for UAS is in the BVLOS flights. And we see now the growth of the number of operations, because of course you have some activities that are raising, like ground or maritime surveillance, and you have the arrival of urban air mobility and of course of delivery with drones. When you see this framework, you see that the number of operations is going to increase. Of course, in the beginning of the market in 2010, it was not significant, but we expect that in 2025 and 2030, the number will be very important, and maybe you have a ratio from 1 manned aircraft to 100 unmanned aircraft operation. What does it mean in terms of pilots? It means that the number of pilots will be increasing very violently, I would say. And now we have some 0.5 million of professional remote pilots in the world. I think that this number should increase regularly in the next years. So it means that you have a huge amount of remote pilots to train and to maintain in their competencies. So if you know that it's very difficult to have some qualified instructors, we may have a problem of ramp up for this period because of course, the regulatory requirements in terms of competency for the remote pilots will remain important. And so we have to increase the global volume of training, of hours of training, if we have to face the requirements in terms of safety, but also in terms of efficiency and acceptability. Maybe we can go to the next slide, please. So here we go to the simulation. Why we think it's a must-have for BVLOS drone operations? Because, of course, we have mass training issues. If we want to face the answer which is necessary for the ramp up of the companies or the armed forces that have to train their pilots. We need to have simulators, not to duplicate the real equipment, not to spend the time of this equipment, by doing training. And of course, we need to economize instructors. If we want to have the good level for the crews, the simulator will be necessary, and it will be necessary to organize the examinations of the evaluations of the crews. And at the end of the day, it's always a question of money. So we understand and we know that live training for BVLOS flights is very expensive. Drone is not inexpensive. If you want to add all the cost of the manpower, of the reservation of the airspace, if you have to fly in a segregated airspace, if you want to organize and prepare the application for your flight, even if you're using the Sora, it takes time and it takes money. And if we want to go in some region where the flight is very dangerous, because you want to go in dangerous areas, you want to simulate failures, live training can not be the good solution. So we think that security and money are an issue that are favorable for simulation. And at least we think that if you want to create a rich and elaborated environment for your operations, if you want to simulate wind, if you want to simulate obstacles, a different airspace where you have other aircraft users that are in the same airspace that where you are, sorry, you will have to call for simulators. And if you want to train collectively the crews, where they have to talk to each other, they have to apply procedures and to have their own decision making, we think that simulator will be very useful. So maybe next slide, please. What kind of simulation for US do we recommend? We recommend that the simulator will not have to be as expensive as the price as 2 or 3 drone systems, because it has no sense. So you have to have a communality between your simulator and different aircraft, and not having specific simulators, but generic simulators. And so it means that your simulator has to be reconfigurable. We think that the organization of the training is very flexible, has to be very flexible, because in some companies, in some situations, you may have to train different kind of people. So it means that your simulator has to be modular, and you can, as an instructor, divide your classroom as you want. And the last part of the characteristics we recommend is the representativeness of the simulator, because we think that the highest precision you have for your environment, the highest representativeness of this environment in terms of wind, terrain, and maybe people on the ground, the better it is for the training of your crew. So maybe next slide, please. We propose now a simulator which name is Genius, which will be shortly available, and which will be light, so it's non-specific hardware, and it's be addressed to many platforms, from the mini drone to the male drone to the VTOL, for instance. And it will be reconfigurable for different kind of person that you have to train, not only the remote pilot, but also remote operators or different people that can intervene, for instance, in the case of having multi-US flights, so maybe more flight manager than remote pilot. Modular, I told you the organization of the classroom is has to be very flexible and with very realistic capability of recreating the environment. Of course, we are now having a very important relation with the military forces, but not only, because we think that the civilian market will raise very soon for BVLOS flight, and it's the reason that we are very happy to see the EU regulation authorizing in the specific and in the certified category this kind of flights. So this is genius. And maybe next slide and last slide. So now we are experiencing and creating the new brick in the wall of safety, efficiency, and acceptability, because we believe that, of course, training needs e-learning, needs real flights, but also needs simulation. And we are now discussing with the French CAA, the GGAC, to participate shortly in a personal training and licensing panel organized by ICAO, because ICAO has been publishing a document related to simulation for fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. But now we have the part of the US that is arriving. So we'll be happy to help our authority to participate at the level of ICAO to this new branch of the simulation. So with that, we are happy to contribute in very short term to the safety, the efficiency, and the acceptability of the future BVLOS drone operations. So that was all. I thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer to any question, if I can.
Thank you, Stefan. It was amazing. I really enjoyed your presentation. And I would like to add that I had a chance to visit France recently and visit your company, Sogitec, near Paris. And I really enjoyed being at your company, and I think you are doing an excellent job, because in order to have a public acceptance when it comes to drone deliveries or any other applications of drones in our society and on our market, we need to train our operators, just like pilots from manned aviation. I mean, all the pilots, they are going to simulators, and even though they are once type rated, they need to train every year a few times on simulator. So I think it will be the same with the unmanned world, and all drone operators will have to train in order to provide safe and secure drone flights. And my question would be, are you planning to create many simulators for different type of drones? And what is your main focus right now?
I think that we aim to address the simulator that is reconfigurable, which means that it's the choice of the instructor to set up the simulator on its own level to the US is addressing is organizing his training lesson. It means that in some training centers, we may have different of simulators dedicated to BVLOS flights. So it doesn't mean that you need the same number of simulator as you have the different types of aircraft, of UAS. So in the principle, one simulator is enough to help the people to be trained to maybe 2 or 3 types of UAS. So you have the point of a generic simulator that is set up by the instructor, and of course, when it's set up on a mini drone, of fixed wing drone of 25 kilos, for instance, then all the people of the training lesson, are experiencing, are having the training on this kind of drone. But maybe the next day you will have a rotary wing, a small helicopter, and it's not exactly the same way of operating the system, but the simulator will be adapted to that. And it's the only way to give the competitiveness, economic competitiveness of the simulation, because if you address directly one
we have a short interruption.
The aircraft system. Yeah, sorry?
We had a problem with the connection, but it's fine right now.
Okay, so the point is that we are addressing all types of aircraft systems, unmanned aircraft system, and this is the point, and this is what's currently interesting the first customers that we have in view.
Okay, so I think a good training of drone operators is necessary for the public acceptance of drone missions, especially the ones in drone deliveries. If we want to deliver goods to our houses and to our apartments, to our flats, we need to have automation, but also, we will also have some operations made by drone operators before automation comes. I would like to ask you, what barriers do you see when it comes to public acceptance of deliveries in drones in your country? Because each European country is different, and I would like to know whether there are some particularities on the French market.
Yeah. For me, delivering some packages with drones is basically a massive BVLOS drone operation. So what does it mean in terms of safety? It means that you will have definitely to operate outside the open category, and you will have to organize your operation after a strong Sora, and maybe you will have to have a certification of your system, and maybe you will have to tackle the issue of having several drones flying and being only controlled by one person, one flight manager. So it means that in terms of market, you will have of authorizations, you will have a good risk analysis to and a good application to present to your authority. I think that in 2021 in France, we already have a few operations that are occurring on a daily basis, and it will be very shortly implemented at the level of maybe the whole country, but only in non-populated areas. And maybe in 2 or 3 years, you will be able to implement this at the level of suburban areas. We have a project in 2024 for the Olympic Games of having a regular license between a small airport and maybe Paris area, of having a kind of corridor with Aéroport de Paris, I think it will be just an experimentation, but it shows the way of having in a medium term some regular, some very important of massive drone operations transporting goods and at the end transporting people.
Okay, thank you for this answer. From my observations and from my point of view, I think that French energy sector is using drones the most. For instance, as I mentioned at the beginning of my introduction, companies like EDF, ENGIE, former EDF Suez, and also Veolia are using drones to inspect and to monitor their infrastructure and windmills, for instance. Do you agree that French energy sector is already very mature when it comes to the drone applications?
Yes, it took time because I was there in the beginning in 2011, and in the beginning we're very slow. But now we have to admit that the big companies that you mentioned are regularly using their drones. They have created some operating activities inside the companies, or they are calling for different operators, drone operators. But it means that now the usefulness of drone is really understood. It's not discutable. So it's practiced at the level of this big country every day in many parts of the French territory, which is a very good thing because it shows that the drone has finally found its place in this energy sector.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. It was a great presentation, and I hope that we will have a chance to speak one day together at Eurosatory panel, because actually we know each other from Eurosatory. I had a chance to present Polish legislation, and you were presenting a French civil association of drones back in the past. And actually, thanks to you, I learned a lot about the French market, and I was very much motivated to visit French companies that are using drones, because I think France is a great example of a country where the drone business is actually booming. So I keep my fingers crossed for Sogitec and the French delivery drone sector. And we will move back to Alexandra Florin from Wing, who will tell us how Wing is doing in deliveries.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought I will not speak immediately, but let's go back.
No worries.
So you see the presentation now?
Yes, yeah, we see it, Alexandra.
So really, thank you to give me the possibility to present and to share what the experience of Wing in terms of drone delivery. I'm not going to lie, and I think you asked the question several times to the people. I mean, integrating drone in the sky, especially for, and with manned aviation, and especially for package delivery, it's a challenge, but it's not impossible. And actually, some people do not know, but Wing is already operating commercial flights on 3 continents. We are in Europe, in Australia, in the US. And I hope, that this presentation will give some faith and some hope, and that many other US operators will join us in this business. So, as I was saying, let me restart with. I just want to quickly present Wing, because maybe it's known, but maybe not. So we're an Alphabet company, which means that we are a sister company of Google. So often we are called Google, but we are not. It's different companies. We do not have shares from Google, but obviously we benefit from all the support from Alphabet. Our main business is to deliver packages, and as I was mentioning, we are deployed on 3 continents, and we have more than 4,000 commercial drone delivery so far. I think we we had 20,000 last year, 2020, and we already reached this number at the end of, we're in May. Yeah, I think it was already reached by the end of April. So what we are believing in is drone delivery, which will make everything faster and cleaner, and propose an alternative transport to roads and bicycles and all those people on bikes that were mentioned in the past. I didn't want to. It's often called the Uber bikes, but we want to propose an alternative to this, and obviously to unlock new economic opportunities. So we're operating on 3 continents. In Europe, we are in Finland, in Helsinki. It's where I'm currently located. Fantastic country, by the way. If once everybody is allowed to fly, you want to visit a great country, you can come to Finland. It's pretty cool, actually. We are as well in Australia, and we are in the United States. Quite located we are in Virginia at the moment, but we are planning to expand in the coming weeks or months, depending how discussion with the FAA is happening. We are always operating beyond vision line of sight, always over congested or populated areas, and always on a commercial basis. So it's already happening, it's already possible. It's a challenge, but it's possible. And in Finland and in Australia, we have been approved by the Finnish authority, TRAFI, and by CASA in Australia, based on the Sora, the methodology I mentioned before. In the US, we were the first company to get a Part 135 air carrier certificate, and it's what we are using so far to conduct our operations. I thought you would be maybe interested to understand how it works. It's at the same time quite simple, but some people don't know, so I'm going to go quickly through it. So you have basically different steps. So it starts with the order from the customer using an app. Once the order is received, the goods are being prepared. I will come back on the goods, but we can basically deliver anything, and we are not imposing what we are delivering. We are just listening to what people need, and it can go to, of course, the food, coffee, the medicines, the toilet paper, whatever. But in the US, there was a very nice story during the pandemic. There was a library lady who could not reach out to her students, and they came to us and asked us whether we could deliver books, library books, and we said, yeah, of course. And there is as well the stories of those Girl Scouts who have difficulties. They are used to get some money by selling cakes door to door, but because of the pandemic, they can't do it. So they came as well to us, and we are helping them to deliver the cakes in order that they can make extra money for their activity. So basically, the customer place an order on the app. Depending on the area, you have different products, and once the order is received, the goods are being prepared, and we make an aircraft ready for pickup. Depending on the customer location, we have an automatic flight planning. So it's not a pilot planning, it's already all automatized to decide, depending on the delivery location, which path to take. We do not always take the same path in order not to always fly above the head of the same people. Obviously, I think we need public acceptance is very important, and I think we believe that it's part of the concept to really distribute the different flight plan regarding this. So, but obviously we take into account everything. So airspace restrictions, the non-obstacles, and we make sure we are never flying above certain areas, like places where we know that public and kids will gather above school. So there's a lot of preparation work, but once we decide to operate in an area, everything is then automatized, and it takes just a click to decide what will be the flight plan. Before taking off, there are a lot of pre-flight checks. all automatized as well. So the aircraft performs plenty of checks themselves, and if the aircraft has an issue, obviously it's not taking off, and if there is any issue, the mission is being given to another aircraft. Then the aircraft is taking off automatically, and it goes to the pickup location where the goods are being gathered before going to the delivery location. As soon as it's leaving the nest or our facilities, the aircraft never lands. Actually, it's always either flying to a specific location. It's flying usually at 30, 40 meters, or to pick up things, for instance, at the coffee maker, or to deliver this at the customer. The aircraft is hovering. It's about at 7 meters, and then there is a tether going to the ground. The package is automatically released, and once the aircraft is flying back to the nest, the customer can pick up this. So in principle, it's pretty simple, and there's a lot of automatization. So I heard what Stefan was saying about pilot training. We try, actually, we have still pilot in command, but they are there for monitoring. And as you can see, there's a lot of things that we have automatized because, it's avoiding the problem raised during the last discussion on the training. I've put as well a slide presenting the main characteristics of how we are flying, and often I receive questions about the range, the maximum package weight that we can transport, and so on. So the range is about 10 kilometer package. The load can be up to 1.5 kilograms. The aircraft is very light. But what I wanted to highlight is our main objective is really, our top priority is safety. And we are, as I said, we are operating above congested area, populated areas. We are in BVLOS, and we have, the design of the aircraft is really thought to reduce the risk for people on the ground at the maximum extent. So the drone has been designed to exceed a target level of safety of about 10 to minus 8 catastrophic events per flight, which is equivalent to the risk that you, me, are facing by just walking down the street. You know, pedestrians, the possibility for you being on the street as a pedestrian being hit by a car, for instance, it's about at the same level. And on top of this, the aircraft, as you can see, or maybe you have seen already some pictures, it's very light, and it's made of foam, and it has a lot of frangible components, which really reduce energy transfer in case of impact. So far, I've been mentioning those 40,000 operations. We had a couple of cases where we had to cancel a mission because there were technical issues which were detected. And so in this case, there is a procedure to land at a safe place. But finger crossed, no crash per se. So and we work really hard to keep it that way, because I think for public acceptance, it's really safety first, and we really no one wants to have bad publicity in the newspaper and having really a crash, just destruction of the aircraft. I talked about the ground risk. For the air risk, what we are doing is that we are flying. So obviously, it's one of the biggest challenge. We are flying in underutilized and low-risk airspace. It's what is normally classified, for those familiar with the Sora ARC-A or ARC-B, and our aircraft are as well equipped with ADS-B receivers, which allows us to for those aircraft equipped with ADS-B. We are aware of them, and then depending on the location, because we are not flying the same way in the US and in Finland, but so in the US we are still using visual observer because our discussion with regulators didn't go that far. In Finland, we are using a concept of danger area, so people know that we are flying around, and if, for instance, there is some operation for which HEMS operation, for instance, where people want to hide their ADS-B because they want to respect privacy and so on. They give us a call and we just suspend the operation for a couple of minutes in order to have a safe flight. So I already mentioned we are operating in Finland, so in Europe, since spring 2019. The reason why we are in Finland mostly is because our boss, the CEO, James, told us, okay, if you can make it in Finland, because of the weather condition, we can fly everywhere in the world. And it's actually, yeah, I'm here in Finland, I told you, and it's true. It can be pretty cold, rainy, windy. So we are testing about all the conditions. We are even testing some strange GPS configuration because of the, we are so north, direction the pole, you know. So it's a very good exercise to be in such country, and so far the reception by the public has been really incredible. People are really positive, and there's no complaint about noise or whatever. And yeah, we are having more and more customers in Finland. So what next? Because obviously what we want is millions of drones in the future, so we really need to be able to scale up. And for this, coming back to what we were discussing, we believe that UTM, New Space, will be a key enabler. The existing ATM system cannot support the volume and the diversity of drone operations. So we believe that we can use from all what had been learned in the past from ATM in terms of safety and security, so we can really build on this, on this legacy. But there are some aspects of ATM that will not allow, again, to support the volume and the diversity of US operations. So my last slide, I believe, is to talk about what happens. So we really support the, in Europe, it's a key enabler, the publication of the EU space regulation. It's really positioning Europe as a global leader to support diverse innovation and growth of unmanned aviation. And we think this is going to be really key to have this digital collaborative platform in order to provide service to operators, to help them flying safely, to know where to fly, even for people in the open category. With these awareness services, it will be very simple for people to check what they can do, what they are allowed to do in a specific area, and the information will come in a much easier way to people to respect the rules. So I hope this is really going to help the complete ecosystem and have more and more drones flying around. So. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you found it informative, inspiring. If you are interested to know more about us, I invite you to consult our website at the address which is indicated on this slide. And I give it back to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Alexandra. I think we all learned a lot from your presentation, and we also learned that deliveries in drones are possible. It's quite difficult, it's challenging, but when we want to do something, we have the right legislation to develop our business. And from what I have learned from your presentation, and also from my knowledge, I think that European market and European legislation is much easier than American one. Do you agree?
Let's say that I don't know if we can do more in Europe than that we can do in the US. But I know
it's a tricky question, so I'm sorry to ask that.
No, but I think if you ask me, in Europe, the increases nice and constant. It goes, sorry, it's not abuse, but it goes like this. I think in the US it's more by step, you know? So there will be a step once all have decided to make it happen, and I'm confident it will happen. But it's true that at the moment, as I said, if I'm being honest, we still need to use Visual Observer in the US, which is obviously not viable from a business point of view. You can guess, but we are pretty confident it's going to work. I think the most challenging thing, honestly, is that yes, regulation is in place, but not everywhere. And to look back to a question you asked me before and so on, the only if there's one thing I want to say, and then I shut up and I stop talking too much. I know it's always too long, but I think the real issue today is that we cannot do, of course, safety is first, but we cannot do safety as we used to do it in manned aviation. And if you want to apply the mitigation measures as they were in manned aviation, it's going to block completely the system just because there's no pilot in the aircraft. It's like this, so you cannot see and avoid. So we need to find another way. And for me, the most important thing, and it's what is behind the Sora, is this concept of going back to a target level of safety and being free of how you want to reach this target level of safety and rethink the complete system. And this will really unlock the market in the future. And we are really working on this. I think there needs to be a lot of communication between the industry and the regulator. It's really happening in plenty of forums, but we need to keep on doing this, and we need to keep on having this public-private partnership in order that regulators can keep on listening to the industry and try to think a little bit differently than in the traditional manned aviation. Although the target level of safety will be the same, and we all want to have safe flights. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. I hope you will accept my second invitation for another webinar, which I plan for September. It will be also on Sora, and perhaps your company will move forward to the other markets. So you will be perhaps present in France or in Poland. I keep my fingers crossed, and thank you for your great 2 presentations, because you really contributed to our webinar. And we found out that drone deliveries are not that difficult if we want.
There are some challenges, but yeah, there's some hope. There's some hope.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, due to the time constraints, we will move to Łukasz Haciński from Dronehub Group. Łukasz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joanna. Welcome, everyone. My name is Łukasz Haciński, and I am the member of the supervisory board in Dronehub. Dronehub is the company which is trying to make drones autonomous by creating drone hubs, the machines, which are the field where drone can take off, land, but also change the battery and change the cargo, because one of our parts is cargo drone hubs and cargo drones. I will try to share my screen with you, my presentation, and then I will continue.
Łukasz, you have a microphone issue. Can you try to fix it?
Oh.
Now it's better.
Why.
Now it's better because we heard, now it's better. We were hearing strange noise, so I was just wondering. Now it's much better.
All right. So tell me if something will be wrong again. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you see my screen now? Can you see the presentation? Joanna?
We see your presentation. Now it disappeared.
Oh no.
We saw it for 2 seconds. Now it's
Same.
again.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. All right. Same. All right. So probably you see it now. So I will try to talk with you more about the drone delivery market as whole. So let's start. The autonomous last mile delivery market is projected to grow from 12 billion of dollars to 91.5 billion of dollars by 2030. The delivery drones market was valued at about 2 billion of dollars in 2020 and is projected to reach 4.6 billion by 2026, registering a CAGR of about 14% during the period of 2021 to 2026. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been an increased deployment of drones for the delivery of a wide range of medical equipment, cargo, and parcels, among others. This is majorly due to increased emphasis of contactless deliveries to remote areas at a faster pace compared to traditional delivery channels. This has led to increased demand for delivery drones in 2020 and also in 2021. With the increased demand for drone delivery services globally, various countries are easing the regulations to support the operation of drones in their airspace. This is expected to accelerate the growth in procurements of drones to offer new delivery routes for remote areas during the period I said before. As the market is currently in its infancy stage with enormous opportunities in the industry, various companies such as Google, Amazon, and for example Deutsche Post have been investing in developing and deploying their fleet of delivery drones. Furthermore, over the years, various companies have entered into the market that have performed their first flights and received approvals from bodies regarding the usage of delivery drones. Such developments are anticipated to propel the growth of the market in the coming years, in my opinion. The increased investments towards development and integration of beyond visual range of sight capabilities to the drones will allow the companies cover far greater distances in anticipated to drive the growth of the market. The retail and logistics segment currently dominates the market, and it's is expected to continue to dominate. This is let me get my mind again. This is majorly due to the increased demand for drones to deliver parcels and packages from retailers, e-commerce providers, last mile delivery companies, and short to ship drone operation and postal companies, of course. Major e-commerce companies and local postal authorities, in collaboration with local governments, are launching drone delivery services to minimize the efforts to deliver packages and parcels to for example, to remote islands, mountain areas, and cities. For instance, as of November 2020, I think the UK was in plans to allow drones to deliver goods to rural areas as part of a plan to introduce advanced transport technologies in the isolated towns or isolated parts of the country, as well as reduce carbon emission. Furthermore, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, various sectors have been implementing drone delivery technology to promote contactless deliveries. Similarly, in April, I think it was in April 2021, the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore began a new program to use drones for transportation of documents, supplies, and parts to vessels at anchor in its harbor. This is a part of the country's plan to integrate advanced drone technologies for marine application. Due to the lack of delivery personnel and the impact of the global pandemic, the necessity to respond to changes in the logistic industry has become more urgent than ever before, and the use of drones might help realize automatic contactless delivery services on remote islands, mountain areas, and even within the cities, as I said before. This is strengthening the demand for the segment during the forecast, during the period I said before. The market of delivery drones is highly fragmented, with many new players entering the market, like Dronehub. The prominent players in the aircraft delivery drones market now are, for example, DJI, UPS, Zipline, of course, Deutsche Post, and Amazon, of course. The advent of players from the logistics, healthcare, and food delivery sectors into the drone market has led to an increase in the competition for the delivery drone manufacturers. To further increase their share in the market, the companies are investing in increasing their fleet of drones, as well as begin their operation with new regulatory approvals. For instance, Amazon announced that the company received approval from their Federal Aviation Administration to operate its fleets of prime air delivery drones. The company received certification of site operation to package persons on small drones. The market is expected to become, I think, more competitive during the next years, as many companies from various sectors are eyeing the potential benefits of drone delivery and are planning to make use of the huge opportunities existing in the market. Now, I would like to say few more. I would like to give you few more informations about who we are and what Dronehub do. As a Dronehub, we are a producer of drone solutions that automate missions in large areas. Our main product is Dronehub, which is the place of, as I said at the beginning, of autonomic takeoff, landing, the place where the drone itself changed the battery, and the place where the package is loaded and collected. Everything happens in a simple and automatic way. The package in the Dronehub is loaded into a special window after having previously entered a PIN number, and then the robotic arm picks up the package and puts into the drone. The same robotic arm replaces the battery in the hub. The drone takes off and flies on a programmed route. The next drone hub, where the person waiting for the package can also pick it up after entering the pin number. Everything happens safely and does not require the presence of the drone operator on either sides. The drone operator can supervise the flight from the flight center or kind of security center. I will try to show you the film right now, how the drone hub, the cargo drone hub works. Hopefully.
Łukasz, you have 3 minutes to go because we are running out of the time.
All right, so.
But we have time for the video.
Yep. All right. Let me play the film. So that's how it looks like. Let me come back to the presentation. I would also like to say a few words about the cooperation of cargo airlines with the drone companies. By cooperating with companies such as Dronehub, airlines can easily supplement their offer with last mile deliveries. Imagine a situation in which an urgent delivery of medicines arrives by plane, which should reach the person waiting in a hospital as soon as possible. Depending on the distance between the airport and the hospital, the drone, using drone hubs, is able to perform such an operation many times faster. As we have no more time,
no, go on. If you want to add something, please go on.
All right, we can talk in a minute in question and answer part, but finally, I would like to say that many years ago, when the first car was designed, people compared it to the horse, depreciating the invention of the car. Car became a common commodity many years later. The same will happen with drones, in my opinion. In order for drone deliveries to become universal, they need to be accepted by the public sector. Drone companies must show that their technology is safe and will not pose a threat in the sky and also on the ground. So let's say that was all regarding to my presentation. We can skip to the Q&A part.
Before I ask my question, I would just like to emphasize that I am very proud of the Dronehub company, because from my point of view, it's a #1 company when it comes to the drone sector in Poland. And what I really like about this company is that Dronehub is very active on international markets, which is very good, because I think drone sector needs to cooperate and needs to be global. And what I really like is the fact that Dronehub is cooperating with European Drone Agency and European Defense Agency, also with Honeywell. And I am always keeping my fingers crossed for you guys. So this is my compliment. And right now I would like to find out what are your plans for the future? and what meant for you the pilot project of the Decathlon company in Lublin, which started this company started a drone delivery project, pilot project. What this project meant for you, and was it in a way motivating?
All right. It was one-off test so far, but it shows the right direction for the e-commerce industry or the delivery industry in general. We are glad that our colleagues, we know each other, of course, that they managed to successfully complete this test and flight, regardless of the fact that we compete with each other as companies. We keep our fingers crossed for the development of the entire drone industry in Poland and for the development of the drone delivery segment, of course, as we are a part of it. I am convinced that in the delivery segment, there is a future ahead of drones as parcel lockers currently have. 10 years ago, no one thought that parcel lockers would revolutionize e-commerce to such an extent. Today, Poland is one of the leaders in terms of the number of parcel machines. We have got, I think, over 41,000 of that kind of machines. And the parcel shipping market in the European Union will grow at tremendous pace. So delivery methods must also evolve. Of course, the out-of-home delivery in Europe report reads that in 2020, 10 billion parcels were shipped in the European Union and UK. But by 2029, it will be 40 billion of parcels. That gives a huge space for development for drone deliveries. As a leader in this part of Europe in drone-in-a-box solutions, we will focus heavily on the development of our drone delivery system, of course. If we are talking about our future plans, we are in the process of developing a large international project, U-Space for UAM, which we implemented together with Honeywell and the European Commission. This is a project that is to create a system for supporting municipal and emergency services by drones in the European Union. As part of the assumptions of this project, Dronehub will perform approximately 160 drone flights over Rzeszów, the southern Poland. One of the tested solutions in transport of the tested solutions in transport of the IAD, it's automated external defibrillator to the spot of the accident. The first flight is planned for this September 2021, and the last for October 2022. What's more, we are planning is a large project related to long-distance cargo flights in the in the Warsaw agglomeration, but I can't tell you more at the moment. You have to forgive me. We have already agreed with PANSA. We are making next steps to make that kind of flights in Warsaw. Also, we plan to carry out the first cargo flights over Warsaw and its surroundings in, I think, in June or July this year.
Okay, Łukasz, thank you for this great presentation. We all keep crossed our fingers for your company and for your drone delivery projects. And now we will move to Tine Tomacic from Pipistrel, a company that is not only well known in drones, but also in general aviation industry. Tine, I am grateful for your patience and for your time. The floor is yours.
Hi all. I would actually have a suggestion to move my presentation to another occasion because in the interest of the audience, I simply don't know how to deliver the complete message in the 2 minutes we have left. So maybe we should spend time discussing and move this to another occasion.
No, Tina. We are waiting for your presentation, and it will be our event is scheduled. So we have 15 minutes left or 20 minutes left. So go ahead and present your presentation.
This puts me in a difficult situation because I have to drop for another very important matter in 2 minutes. The allocated time was 11 to 1. I just cannot see how I'm supposed to do it now. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you really need to go.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So I'm very sorry. We tried our best. So let's say that we will see you at our next webinar project. And I would like to, sorry for that. I really regret that we are not going to hear your presentation, but I fully understand. I would like to summarize and I would like to sum up our discussion. Drone deliveries are growing. Even though we have pandemics, we see that the drone sector is booming. And I think pandemics even developed this boom. And it's helpful when it comes to cargo growth in manned aviation and also in deliveries when it comes to drone sector. And I believe that all drone companies are very much interested to move in this direction. I think we all agreed that there are many challenges to address, but I think our legislation is quite good. I think European legislation is excellent in terms of developing the market. Sometimes, of course, we meet some problems and some obstacles, but I observe that each member state in Europe has a good approach. Local civil aviation authorities are doing everything they can to implement new legislation in such a manner that drone missions and drone operations are possible. I evaluate this from our Polish local perspective, where our civil aviation authority is doing everything to make the business for the drone sector easier, however, maintaining the safety and security principles. And I'm sure that we will have another use cases, we will have another applications of drones within drone delivery sector. And I welcome my great panelists, my great speakers to make a last statement. Perhaps if you would want to add something to our discussion to sum up. You need to unmute. Left corner.
Yes, I found it. Thank you for that. No, very briefly, I think what I would like to put is more, not a summary, but more a sort of final thought. My impression is that up to now, drone deliveries have been, and it's already great, using rather small machine, payload around a couple of kilos, range around 10, 20 kilometers. I think we are progressively, and that certainly Tine would have shown that in his presentation, we are progressively moving to more capable machines, first in terms of range, probably more than 100 kilometers, and also in terms of payload, couple of 100 kilos. I think we are probably now moving from last mile delivery to what I would call middle mile delivery, where we could imagine, in fact, drones doing regional logistic operation, moving from airport hubs, where, of course, the or ship terminal, where the I would say large aircraft or large ship would bring the cargo. So that's perhaps what I would like to submit as a sort of food for thought at the end of this very interesting webinar. And I wish to thank also all my colleagues for their great intervention, and you, Joanna, for your very competent moderation. Thank you.
Thank you, Yves. So I leave the question open. Maybe Stefan or Alexandra or Łukasz would like to add something. You need to unmute, Alexandra.
I need to jump in another meeting pretty soon, so I'm going to leave you. I think I spoke enough, so thank you, Joanna.
Yes,
and if you do a follow-up with Pipistrel, I would love to be able to follow this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will invite you for the second time. Bye. So, Stefan, do you want to add for the termination of our meeting some words?
Yes, I just have one wish. It is that this market, this drone delivery market, is developing so much that we have so many drones in the skies and so many pilots to train, so that I can propose my simulator to different companies that are involved in kind of new operations. And of course, as a citizen, I hope that everything will be done in perfect compliance with the acceptable expectation of the society, and of course in perfect safety. But I think that this sector needs to be developed as very quickly, because it's at the beginning I thought it was just a gadget, it was not just a funny idea, but I think now it's a very good idea. So we need definitely to see things moving on very quickly in that direction.
Okay, Stefan, thank you so much. I keep my fingers crossed for your company and for the drone device training. And the last sentence from Dronehub for our viewers. Łukasz, do you wish to add something? Okay, Łukasz is not with us anymore. So thank you so much for your contribution to Drone Delivery webinar, and see you next time. Bye-bye.